The Black Coat. Part 1. Chapter 1. At the Front, Not at the Front. In 1971, I was a staff writer with The Freedom Fighter, a weekly paper published in the old part of the city of Dhaka during the Bangladesh Liberation War. It printed reports on the progress of the Mukti Bahini, known as the Freedom Fighters, against Pakistani military assaults. A broadsheet of only 4 pages, it quickly became a hit with readers because of its inspiring writing. Lutfuzzaman Babul, its editor and publisher, said it was regularly smuggled into Bengali refugee camps in various Indian territories, where the Mukti Bahini received guerrilla training before moving to the front. He added that members of the Bangladesh government in exile based in India read every word of it. In the absence of Sheikh Mujib, the leader of the liberation struggle imprisoned in West Pakistan for treason, it was considered one of the most important nationalist voices in the country. I believed him. I believed in the vision of the paper. That's why, although it was published by a small media company with limited and irregular income, I decided to stick with it. Sometimes I wanted to grab a rifle and go to the front, but Lutfuzzaman Babul said I was already at the front. Reporting such a primitive war was not an easy task. It was a fight in itself. He was sure the freedom fighter would accomplish more than killing a bunch of Pakistani soldiers could. It would redefine the entire ruling class of Pakistan by rousing its conscience against genocide. He told me to write with passion, to fill my columns with love for our people, so that every Bangladeshi, upon reading my words, would be imbued with an enormous sense of patriotism. In all my articles, I attacked and insulted the Pakistani rulers, present and past. I ridiculed them, invented stories about them, and misspelled their names and designations to make them seem eccentric and trivial. They were cockroaches. Tika Khan, the army commander in East Pakistan, should be massaged with 14 spices and marinated for 3 nights before being roasted for hungry dogs on Pakistan's national holiday. We published the Pakistani flag with a Nazi swastika in place of the traditional crescent and star, superimposed mammoth, bloody, terrorizing horns on the head of Pakistan's President Yahya Khan. Using emotionally charged language, I narrated how Pakistanis had jumped upon us like beasts with sharp claws and would not give up until they had sucked the last drops of our blood and turned our country into a wasteland. In article after article, I wrote against those who collaborated with Pakistan and smuggled out valuable security intelligence. "Hang them twice," I titled one of my articles, which argued that these traitors should be hanged along with our enemies because of their misdeeds, then hanged again for betraying us while being a part of us. Bangladesh would never forgive them, I said. They were not sons of our motherland. They were aliens, Bedouins, Jews, agents of the CIA. They were the damned, awaiting severe punishment for their actions in the People's Court. When the country was free, we would find them. We would find all those zombies, even if they hid under the rubble, in the bed of the silent seas, above the clouds and in the shadow of Iqbal, and hang them one by one in public squares. Traitors, we would dance in their blood. I specifically criticized the poet Iqbal because Pakistanis regarded him as their wisest man. They called him Allama, the scholar. He dreamt of a unified homeland for all Muslims in the subcontinent, thus opposing the concept of the separation of Bangladesh from Pakistan. By speaking of an integrated Pakistan, he only wanted to immortalize Bangladesh as West Pakistan's peaceful colony. I wrote that, although I knew even Gandhi had sung his song, Sare Jahan Se Achcha, better than the entire world, to express his love for the subcontinent. Iqbal died long before British rule came to an end. Nonetheless, I attacked him as if he were alive today, alive and well, and advising Pakistan's generals on homeland integration affairs, sitting in some fortified palace inside the Karachi cantonment. Because he was their precious poet, we needed to bully him the way they bullied our precious leader, Sheikh Mujib. In September 1971, Lutfuzaman Babul called a meeting in his office. We gathered around his table, all 11 reporters, proofreaders and administrators. From 4,000 copies in April, the circulation of the paper had grown to 12,000 in 6 months. 4 pages had become 8. He told us there would be no scarcity of investment to take the paper to the next level once the country was liberated. By the next level, he meant to give it an institutional shape, to make it a real business venture so that all its employees would have a permanent job in the new country. It would not be surprising if Sheikh Mujib's government wanted to acquire it as its communications department. In that case, we would all automatically be turned into public servants. We loved our country, and becoming public servants was the best thing that could happen to us. Lutfuzaman Babul advised us to redouble our efforts in inspiring our people to kill Pakistani forces wherever they were found. Kill, kill, kill. That was the message. Kill them. Eat them alive. We published a victory issue of the paper following Pakistan's surrender on 16th of December 1971, ending the 9-month war. Including supplements, it was 16 pages. We printed patriotic poems and stories, pictures of children running down the street waving flags, female students at Dhaka University singing, "Our country has plenty of grain and riches." Noted intellectuals contributed essays on the themes of nationalism and the Bengali psyche, the evolution of Bengali cultural tradition and the history of the Bengali Renaissance in the 20th century. A professor analyzed ideas of rebellion in our folk literature. But the main attraction was the photograph of a smiling Sheikh Mujib wearing a heap of garlands around his neck. The article that followed praised him for his determination, conscientiousness and towering social influence. He was one leader who stated ardently that he did not want to become Prime Minister of Pakistan and instead wanted to see Bangladesh set free. We printed details of his political career along with several pages of pictures. Sheikh Mujib was more popular with Bangladeshis than the Prophet Muhammad. He was supported by people of all religions and creeds. On 10th January 1972, he returned to Dhaka to form a government after being released from Pakistani custody. "There is not another leader like him in the world," people said. "There won't be another leader like him in the future." A new cabinet was sworn in immediately. Military and border security forces, police and other institutions were created and organized as quickly and as adequately as possible. Mass graves were discovered in different parts of the country. The buried were exhumed and reburied. Roads were cleared. Pakistani tanks, armored vehicles, personnel carriers, ambulances, helicopters and supply trucks, burned out, blood-spattered and broken, were removed from the streets. Offices and marketplaces hoisted new flags. Educational institutes and courts opened. Government documents published in Urdu, the language of Pakistan, and Urdu-Bengali dictionaries were gathered together and set ablaze in the national park. Mukti Bahini members returned from the front, wept for their deceased fellow fighters, got married and joined in victory parades in every city. The smell of loss gradually began to fade. Sheikh Mujib delivered a special message to the freedom fighter shortly after he came to power. He was such a busy person. The whole country was waiting for his instructions. Soviet General Secretary Brezhnev was waiting to meet him. British Foreign Secretary Sir Alec Douglas-Home was also waiting, but he made time to take pen in hand to write a few lines on his newly printed letterhead in his most direct language. "My brothers," he wrote, "the enemy is gone. It is your country now. Forget your differences. Transform your hate into action. Build this nation. Joy Bangla." That message was recognition of our hard work, Lutfuzaman Babul said. It was an inspiration for us as well as for every man and woman in the country. Now that the country was free, he did not speak about the freedom fighter becoming the government's mouthpiece. I knew him. I had no doubt he believed a paper must be free even in a free country, particularly in a free country.